great leaders are not well-rounded. Great leadership teams are well-rounded.
We're kind of throwing everything. Yeah, it's chaos behind the scenes. But
Right.
you guys, I mean, we all operate like that at some level.
If I can face the fear and take the risk, like there could be so much more for us.
On episode 367 of the podcast, we talk about transitioning from stable jobs to entrepreneurship. We also talk about the importance of community support and balancing roles in a husband-wife business team. This is a good one. All that and more on this episode. Well, what's up, friend? I am Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business podcast. This is the show for corporate and commercial filmmakers where we talk about the business of video production. We cover topics like sales and marketing and how to scale, how to grow, how to do business in 2024 because it's a little different than 2004 when I started my business. So if that sounds like you're in the right place, you're in the right spot. I'm so happy that you're here. Happy New Year. Currently, if you are not happy with your business, with the clients that you're getting, with the budgets that you're booking, if you're looking to scale out of, you're looking to grow out, maybe you're a wedding filmmaker and you want to get into the corporate side of things, I put together a 45-minute workshop that I call the Six-Figure Commercial Filmmaker Workshop. I share my best advice from the last 20 years of running my own video production business where I've got a team, we've got a studio, I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, and I figured out a lot of shortcuts and a lot of things that have worked. And so in this workshop, I share my best stuff with you. This is an all new workshop, so maybe you have watched this in the past. For you, there's new stuff. If you haven't watched the old version of this workshop, then you're gonna wanna watch this one because it's packed full of the newest, freshest, bestest things. You can access this workshop if you go to studiosherpas.com/workshop. It's totally free. You get access to the whole workshop for free. It's my gift to you. Again, go to studiosherpas.com/workshop, get that workshop, and I 100% guarantee, just kidding, no guarantees, but I think you will take some notes and there will be some action items for you to say like, okay, I should start doing this, stop doing this. And I think it will inspire you to take your business to the next level. And what else does somebody want in 2024 than to grow their video business? Unless they don't have a video business. But if you've gotten this far, you don't have a video business, I'm glad that you're here hanging out with us. It's great to have a visitor. And for you video business owners, let's get into this episode. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's do this. Here we go. What's up, friends? Welcome to another episode of the show. Today, we have some amazing guests. I keep telling Lauren that just pretend like we're hanging out together, but I guess if we were hanging out together, I probably wouldn't talk like that. Anyway, Lauren and Mitch McClure, who are from Full Send, husband and wife dynamic duo, still pretty new in the world of video production, in owning their business, running their business. They've been a part of our Mastermind for, has it been a year? Did you guys come in at the midway point or beginning?
Midway. We've been late spring,
midway,
so it's been like one session, I guess.
Half a year. It's been such a delight. I was just telling these guys before we hit record how much I just adore them both. They are the quintessential, like one person is the ultimate like creative in the business and one person is the ultimate operations-minded person running the business. So together they are the dynamic duo. But anyways, welcome to the show, you guys. Super excited. So glad to have you both.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Super excited to be here.
Lauren especially. So excited, not nervous at all.
I think, one of the things that happens so often in life is we get invited into a place where we feel like we don't belong. And I think there's, as a filmmaker, as a business owner, there's rooms that we'll get invited into, like conference rooms that we'll get invited into, opportunities to pitch our business to like high level executives and companies that have tons and tons of money, and it can feel so intimidating, and it can feel like I don't belong, if they really knew, we're just, we're kind of throwing everything. Yeah, it's chaos behind the scenes. But
Right.
you guys, I mean, that's how we all operate like that at some level. And we all experience that feeling of like, I don't have anything to add to this conversation. Right. So I know Lauren is, experiencing a little bit like, why are we doing this? Why are we on this show? We're still new in business. We're still, I mean, the thing I appreciate about you guys so much is your vulnerability, and in the mastermind, the things that you guys share, you're both so real and you're both so relatable. And I just feel like that's such a gift to our community. So I am really excited for you to share some of your story and to not screw up. Okay, Lauren?
Yeah. No pressure.
No pressure. Let's go. Yeah.
So you guys, you're still new in the business. Bring us to like before you started this thing, and like what happened to make you both think that, husband and wife team, we should start a business together?
You want to go? You want me to go?
You can start.
Okay. And then you'll fix it.
She's good at fixing stuff.
So yeah, I went film school, graduated in 2014. And then I ended up working at our church for 7 years as their on-staff video producer, and loved it. And my dad was an entrepreneur, and I ended up, I guess, getting that bug kind of in the middle of that. And I was always really interested in things outside of just my job. And so that kind of kept growing and growing. And I just felt like, we'd never be able to just, take this leap. Like Lauren's never going to go for that. So I'll have to, come up with some business on the side and just build it up slowly until we can safely, transition away from my full-time job and step into that. And started getting freelance work. Clients, just old clients, I'd taken off and on over the years, and they started coming back around, and all of a sudden we're getting overloaded, raised our rates and stuff, or my rates. It wasn't even us at this point. It's just still me on the side. And then Lauren all of a sudden was kind of like, hey, let's do this. And I've been sitting on the fence. I would have kept sitting on the fence forever, but she just like drives things forward, like way before I'm comfortable or ready. And even like voicing it out loud to our church group, I'm like, bro, you just made this real. Like it was just an idea to even start a company. You made it real. I work with one of the people in this group. Did you forget that?
She wasn't there that night.
That's right. She wasn't there. So I was like, okay, you just took this from like 0 to 100. And that's Lauren, that's kind of how she goes.
What was the turning point for you to say like, yeah, we should do this?
Yeah. So I went to school for nursing. So I'm a registered nurse, worked in a hospital for 5 years, and then transitioned to a nonprofit called the Pregnancy Network. And, Mitch and I were both in ministry jobs, and we love those organizations. We love the Pregnancy Network. We love our church. But it kind of got to this place. I mean, we have 3 little boys, 7, 6, and 2. And I just kept feeling like, we envision a future for our family. There are things we want for our family, things we want to do with our kids. And the life we were living was just tight on like financially. And being in ministry jobs, like I think we were paid very well by these organizations, but there's only so much you can make in that setting. And Mitch is wildly talented. I've always known that. And he's had all these people come to him for freelance work. So I think, I've always been a very anxious person. And so, for a long time, it was just, this is what we know. Like, we may not be making much money, but we know what's coming in every month. Like we can work with that. And then I honestly don't know what the switch was for me, but I think there was just this moment of like, okay, but if I can face the fear and take the risk, like there could be so much more for us, and not just for us. Like we both are passionate about serving our community well and things like that. And those are things that you can do so much easier when you've got the time and control over your schedule, and when you have more money too. So I will say, we've been married 10 years.
Yeah.
And at 7 years, we had, friends around us talking about like, you get that, what'd they call it?
Like
7-year slump or something. Yeah. And so at that point, we're like, well, I don't think we really need it, but let's just go get marriage counseling. It's been a while, maybe, just prophylactic, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we got in there and uncovered so many problems and just figured out that we were like not communicating well. Like it
was wild.
It was crazy. And so I honestly think coming out of that may have been a big factor, because we learned so much just about how to care for one another, how to talk to each other, things like that. And so I think like a growing stability in our marriage also made that jump into something so risky, like that much more, less or much less scary than originally. So marriage counseling, go get you some. It's great.
Yeah. I'm like listening. I'm like, man, this would have been great. Last night, I may or may not have gotten into an argument with my wife, and this morning, kind of not talking to each other as much as we would normally on a regular morning. Yeah. So I did tell her last night.
Well, we still do that. We just know it now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I did tell her last night. I'm like, call Lana, get us an appointment. We'll let's go hang out with our therapist. It's been a while. So that's so good. And it's really fascinating, because I've got, Lauren, when I think about how you're wired, one of my good buddies, Sean, has worked in corporate America forever, and has just like the security blanket of knowing, I got this paycheck coming. And when he hears me talk about my business, he gets anxious. He's like, man, I just don't know how you could do it and not know, like, am I going to get paid this week or not? That's just like, I can't handle that. So to think that you kind of came full circle and came to this place where you were able to overcome that's pretty awesome.
It's unreal. Yeah, I'm so amazed. It just, especially even going into our marriage, I was going to be a filmmaker, which is, super stable and everything. So there were stresses way back 10 years ago, and she had her nursing job, and she was my sugar mama for a while I was getting my feet, off the ground, whatever. But so she valued that stability, like I think, so many people do. And just to see the leap she has taken, it's really cool to watch her do this. It's amazing. Yeah.
What does the anything else?
What else?
What does your business look like right now?
Amazing.
Like, what kind of clients are you getting? Do you guys have specialty? What's the focus? What's the hope?
For sure. Well, we finally niched down after you roasted me in our mastermind. Much needed.
Join the mastermind. Get roasted.
Yeah,
it was so good. That's what I joined for, is to get that kind of feedback. We niched down, and when I say we niched down, we picked a lane to start pursuing. We don't technically have any clients, like new clients in that niche since niching down. We've got some software companies that we've been doing work for. And so it's kind of an offshoot from that. It's a B2B SaaS in the remote working and collaboration tools space. That's kind of how we're building our company. It's us and another and just other contractors right now. But we don't know if we'll ever pursue an office space. And if we do, probably something hybrid, just because working from home has been such a blessing for our family. We want to be able to build that for other people too. So it's kind of, I don't know, something we're passionate about. So that was kind of our niche. But right now, it's still taking what we can get and trying to produce these marketing assets and build these systems to start putting the word out there in our little bit of free time, So that's kind of where we're at. But
yeah, I mean, right now we're a melting pot of a whole bunch of different types of businesses and clients, which has been amazing. Like, they've kept us afloat for the first year and a half of our business, which is awesome. I'm like blown away regularly that people want to work with us and pay us to do this kind of thing. But
December 1st was 18 months for us. And I mean, she is so part-time at her job. They're one of our clients too. We love them.
Nice.
And so that's been really great, but it's basically, this is it for our income. And so, we always have the picture of where we want it to be, but I'm trying to just remember like the fact that we've been able to survive for 18 months, almost solely on this, and also be paying subcontractors and stuff is, it's amazing. And I just think about our clients who have supported us, and believed in us. And even some, going back, it's amazing just as we keep, going from charging as a freelancer on the side to where we are now as a production company. That's a lot different price. And I get kind of just very grateful when I think of the clients who have continued to support us and believe in us as we've, increased pricing and stuff like that. It's super grateful for sure.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
What tips or advice would you have for people that are working from home or working with a spouse? Like those can be very, very different things. But curious to know if you guys have any tips or tricks that have worked well for you guys.
I do have thoughts. I'm sure you have thoughts as well. Would you like to go first? Always ladies first. Go for it.
Communication is everything. Like I said, we've even getting into this, we had learned so much about how to communicate with each other. Also, I mean, just defining roles. Like, I think one of our biggest struggles early on was this kind of like, this business is ours and we're figuring it out together. But then, there was a lot of headbutting and things were getting dropped because we didn't have specific responsibilities for each person. So,
that clear separation.
So defining clear roles was probably one of the very early things that helped us out quite a bit.
Yeah, that was huge. I do remember, you love the book Traction, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we read that too. And it was funny. Early on, we tried to implement these meetings, and then we were meeting so much.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, well, we still have to do the work. And so we paused on that. It's probably time to start implementing some of that again. But I was all gung ho on it for a while. But I think a big thing for me was like, before we started the business, somebody told us like, hey, be careful in this. This can kind of make or break your marriage. This could put a lot of strain on it.
No biggie.
And so I tried, right? Yeah, no biggie. I will say, at the beginning, we kind of set like, hey, marriage first. No matter what happens, if we just quit the business, if it looks like it's starting to erode the marriage, because I knew, especially for me, with me like wanting to build a business for so long, like that would so quickly become my like everything, and so I was like, I can't let that be prioritized, especially if we have differences in opinion and stuff. And so I think that has been huge, just knowing like at the end of the day, we're here for each other. I see there's so much more opportunity for conflict now. It's crazy because we're together all the time. We have everything to fight about, and I think it's so good. I think more married couples should do business together, but you need to know it's going to get way worse before it gets better. Like you have to learn how to fight, like those differences are there, no matter what. But this conflict, this like constant opportunity for conflict, gives you the opportunity to come together and get closer, and have that friction there. So it's hard, but I think it's made us closer. And if you can't tell, I'm the optimist, so I always double check with her, like, hey, are we really doing good? I think we're doing great. Yes. How are we? Let's go. Yes.
Oh man, that's so great. Yeah, when I first started, 6 months into what I was doing, I shot a wedding for the first time ever, and I was like, oh, this would be amazing. And so I was like, oh, I'll bring Andrea. Like, I got a super nice meal, and it was just, this is really cool. So I'll bring her along, let her, carry the tripod or whatever. I think she shot maybe 2 or maybe 3 weddings with me. but she quit. She was like, she couldn't take the heat. She was basically like, I don't like how you talk to me when we're working. You're like, go there, do this, do that. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm running a business here. Like, you got to get this shot. And so we didn't push through, but I think we saw the potential if we continued. I'm not sure we'd be married for 21 years.
I will say that's, something as you value our vulnerability, I can be vulnerable in as we're not out of the woods yet on learning to give feedback. Lauren told me up front, she's like, hey, when you make mistakes, I'm going to have trouble like being okay with that and not holding grudges. I'm like, thanks for the heads up.
Okay.
She was dead on with that.
I can hold a grudge like no other.
Oh man.
So it's been really helpful to me to like, almost like crave feedback, and try to get that thicker skin to where like, hey, if we can't, talk about it, we can't fix it, I can't improve. The big challenge for me, and I'm sure based on this wouldn't always just be from a husband to a wife, just depending on personalities, but it's hard for me to give hard feedback to anybody, let alone my wife. So now it's even more challenging. Yeah. And so Lauren's done a good job at, I've been trying to get better and deliver harder feedback and harder feedback. She's done a good job at taking it, receiving it. Sometimes it gets a little quiet for, an afternoon or so, but
getting thicker skin.
Yeah. So I think when you're saying that is definitely a challenge. Yeah.
When you're saying harder feedback, I think really what like the better way to say that would be like more clear and direct feedback.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any feedback
which
at all.
Can feel like I don't want to say this, but it's got to be said, right? And that's the only way that we can really truly become better. I would say like for me early on, as I had the same very, I as a creative, like, we're just like more sensitive anyway. And so we want to be like cautious. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. But then at some point I realized like I have to, the more efficient I can be in all of the things, the more time I can spend on, other things. And I can't like beat around the bush. Like if I don't like the font, I'm going to share it. I'm not crazy about the font. Like, so if you want to find a couple more options, here's what I don't like, about the font. I need something so for me, I've had to not just say like, I don't like this, but here's why, and try to describe it as best I can. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. I'm like, I'm not really sure why I don't like this. It just doesn't feel right. So, nothing against you. If this isn't personal, this is work. It's a job. I know you're being creative and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, I think we need to shave 30 seconds. We need to have a different intro. The music just isn't hitting exactly how I envisioned it. There's a way to be direct and clear. And then you get more comfortable doing that. And then I think you can do it in a way that doesn't come across as offensive to, whoever it is that you're working with.
That's so good. I value it so much when I'm receiving it. It's so beneficial, what you just said, but for whatever reason, I haven't pushed through that, being able to deliver it to other people. But I know I've got to. That's a big battle for me. Yeah. That's good. I
think in baby business world too, like, everything we're doing is new. Everything we've had to do, we have had to learn. And so there's a lot of insecurity in that. And so I think a lot of times, like, just the feedback thing has been hard because it's really hard not to take it personally when you've worked so hard to learn something new. And like, I don't know. I think you go into something like that thinking I'm going to kill it and I'm not going to mess up. But the reality is, oh my gosh, I've failed so many times at things in the first year and a half, like different things. Yeah. And I had to get to a point where it was like, okay, I have to, like, this is part of it. Now I've learned and we're going to do it differently. But like when you're so insecure like that, any little bit of feedback feels like, the weight of the world on you.
It's so true. This is something you did not ask me this, but I just thought of this. Am I allowed to speak about something?
Oh boy, here we go. Mitch is taking the podcast in a different direction. Sure, man. Let's do it.
I know personality tests and stuff. There's one that's called Strength Finders. And I read a book about it as well that before we started the business that it kind of flipped the way I saw myself and my weaknesses. And I was always just like, I wanted to be great at everything, and I felt so guilty about the things I was bad at. Yeah. And there's this quote from the book that was, it was basically like, great leaders are not well-rounded. Great leadership teams are well-rounded. And so I think the timing of me reading that before starting this business was so great, as all your weaknesses are completely amplified and made visible to yourself and everyone. Yeah. And so it not only helped me like give myself a lot of grace, but just to value her strengths. I'm very grateful. I feel like our strengths and our weaknesses kind of fill in the gaps for each other. They complement each other really well. And so, showing grace to myself and to her and her weaknesses, but just appreciating and being so excited, not threatened by other people's strengths, but like excited, like, wow, this can elevate Full Send so much, So,
yeah.
Little tidbit for you there.
Well, it makes me, as I think about you guys, one of the things I like so much about this business that you're building is that you do have two very different personalities. And if you haven't read the book, what is it? Rocket Fuel, which is by the same authors of Traction, or at least one of them. Rocket Fuel kind of breaks down every business has a visionary and an integrator. And the visionary is the person that's the dreamer, the typically the creative, whatever. And then the integrator is the person that can say, okay, well, we can't do all 100 of your ideas. We're only going to do one, and here's how we're going to do it. They're the person that gets stuff done. And in this relationship, that's how you guys are wired. Like, Mitch is definitely like the dreamer, the creative, and Lauren is the one that's actually going to make it happen. So if a business, a lot of us that start our businesses, we're by ourselves, and we're forced to be both of those roles, when really, like, there's probably one that we're just really good at, and the other one we learn how to do. And that's what I did. For the longest time, I think I was almost 10 years into my business when one of my employees quit. I had another employee that came to me she sent me a quick text like, hey, don't do anything. Like, I just heard what happened. Don't do anything. It wasn't like a huge blowout. Like what did you do? Our offices were closed. So she's like, give me 5 minutes. And she hops in my office in 5 minutes. She hands me a stack of papers. On the very top was this thing. It said, how to know when you need a business manager. And I just kind of started grinning, because I think I didn't know what that meant. I knew I needed something different in my business. The person who left was an administrative assistant. And anyway, I flipped through all of these pages, and I'm like, this is exactly what I need. And at the time, it was my friend and employee, Lindsay. She said, I want to do this. This is the role that I want. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we stepped into that role. And then shortly thereafter is when I learned about Traction and Rocket Fuel, and realize, like, oh my gosh, I'm the visionary, Lindsay is the integrator. And in separating those roles, it got me out eventually of the day-to-day operations of the business, which I hated. I hated managing employees. I hated being like, hey, like, why didn't you come to work yesterday? And why do you want to take, the next 3 weeks off? And like, why do you want a pay raise? And like, I know why people want pay raises. Yeah. But all of that stuff that I didn't want to do that. Like, I wanted to work with clients. I wanted to sit across, interview people for our documentaries. And I wanted to go like speak on stages. Like, those are the things that got me excited and things I wanted to be doing. And the day-to-day operations of the production business just didn't allow me to do that. So the fact that you guys have that built in from the beginning, and you've already identified, hey, Mitch, you're over here, I'm over here. Like, let's do our jobs and we'll support each other. They both bring a different value, but they're both necessary. So good.
I do feel super grateful to have that knowledge going into it. I feel sorry for, people building businesses. Like, I mean, maybe all this content was around back then too, but like my parents' generation and stuff, I'm like, there's so much. Content out there to help. It's amazing. But there's one line from Rocket Fuel that I really liked. This visionary was saying, I guess before he had hired another integrator, he said, I feel like the disintegrator. Like, everything he touches just goes. And that's how I feel. Like, anytime, somebody calls us about project management and stuff, I'm like, I'm going to stop you right there. Call Lauren right now, because I'm going to make it so unclear and cause all these problems. So, it's a little crippling sometimes. You just got to step back.
You got good dreams, though.
Thank you.
You got good dreams.
Thank you.
I had the author or one of the co-authors of Rocket Fuel on the podcast. So I think if you just Google Studio Sherpas Rocket Fuel, I think that episode will pop up. So if you're curious about Rocket Fuel and the Visionary Integrator, like go look that episode up. It's good. It's a good place to start. And then I definitely would recommend the book as well as the book of Traction, but maybe start with Rocket Fuel because it will help Traction make a little bit more sense. I'm curious to know what your guys's, like how you have your roles separated. Like what have you defined clearly for each other?
It's super clear and super defined, really well documented. No. Gee, you want to go for that first?
Actually, you probably wouldn't even know, Mitch. Yeah. You wouldn't even know if it was. So
I have a vision for how we should do it.
So, I mean, very much visionary integrator. He's visionary. I'm integrator. He deals, currently he still does a lot of video editing, still production, things like that. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But has that creative director role when working with our subcontractors. And he's always bringing like new ideas to the table, new things he wants to do with our business. Yeah. Am I missing anything on?
No, for sure.
You?
I think, yeah, like you're saying, or maybe you didn't say, we're not in a place where we can staff up to where I can just be fully visionary yet, so I'm still doing some day to day.
Let me stop you there. Like 90% of us, probably 95% of us are in that spot where, there's a whole bunch of roles. I just got off a call right before this. We were talking about the book E-Myth. This show is all about books today. But E-Myth was the very first business book I ever read right before I started my business. Definitely recommend reading that one. That one kind of breaks out similar to Visionary Integrator, but it's like CEO at the top, then I actually don't know what's like right below that, but basically below the leader of the company are the three main pillars that every business needs. You've got operations, you've got finance, and you've got sales and marketing. And so in each of those, like you have to put your name to one of those. So I just got off a call with these two guys that just started this production business together, and they were talking about their business, and it sounds like they're both kind of doing, they're both kind of doing production, they're both kind of doing operations. Right. And I said, well, guys, listen, let me just offer you one piece of advice. As soon as you can, have somebody who owns the operations part, have somebody who owns sales and marketing, have somebody who owns production, because at the end of the day, somebody has to be accountable. And it doesn't mean that you have to be the best at it. It doesn't mean that you have to be in that role forever. It just means like right here, right now, we have to identify where does the buck stop? If we stop getting sales and our marketing's terrible, we need to be able to point the finger at somebody and not like you're terrible, but it's like we need to, how do we improve and who's responsible? And then if I hired anybody that was assisting with sales or marketing, then that person would be answering to me. I'm still accountable. I'm still responsible. If whoever's in charge of operations and the videos aren't coming out how they need to, like somebody needs to be responsible. Whose fault is it? So you can trace it back. You can refine your processes, the procedures, all of the things that you're building out for each of the roles. But somebody's got to own that role and be taking notes of like, hey, here's how we do this thing. Here's how we do this thing. So that one day when it's a role that you can't stand doing, you can hire somebody to do that role, even if it's a part of that role. So anyway, I like that we kind of went down this little rabbit hole of defining roles and
for sure.
Not just defining the roles, but assigning. If you're by yourself, you do all of the roles. Your name is attached to every single role, and getting clarity on, well, what are all the roles? It's not just shooting and editing. It's like, it's client communication. It's following up. It's, how much do I pay myself versus how much do I put back in the business? It's marketing. It's, it's like all of the things. The more you can see what are all the roles, the better position you'll be in to say like, oh gosh, we haven't even done any marketing, or we're not doing anything with our taxes. Like, oh my gosh, like the sooner you can figure that out, like you probably should get on it.
Right. The more stuff you just listed there, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, Lauren, you're so swamped with all this.
Yeah, so all those things you just listed, I do.
I'm creative direction. If you want to call it product development in terms of like videos, trying to come up with, some form of templated stuff, offerings and the vision. But, project management, that was huge once she took that over. That was huge. All the legal, contracts, invoicing, all this stuff she does, and makes my head want to explode. And it's hard too. It's like she does a great job at it. I can tell it stresses her out as well. So it's not like she's passionate about invoicing.
I'm not passionate about that, but
so I'm very grateful. So a lot of my role then is, keeping an eye on her and trying to serve her well and be like, hey, do I need to go get you a coffee, or why don't you go take a break? I'll watch the kids right now, so.
Lauren, if there was just one role in the company, like what responsibility or what would you want to be doing?
Honestly, my answer doesn't really fit with my personality all that much and what I'm doing now. My favorite thing to do is meet with clients, especially like early in the sales process, like presenting them with our strategy and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my favorite thing to do.
She's really good at it too. It's really cool.
I like that. That's cool. And that makes sense too. Like, logistically, you're just like super high relational. The way that you guys build this out, don't forget that, right? Don't forget the thing that you really like doing, because just because you are in charge of, finances and you're in charge of HR and whatever, that doesn't mean that you still can't be, the first face that people see or meet with. That's probably a very valuable part. And I would probably say even in some cases, which this is a little annoying, but having you both be a part of, those initial calls. There's just some magic with the two of you, that people are going to be drawn to. So not that you're always going to have to.
Sweet, Ryan.
That was really sweet.
but not to say that, every sales meeting going forward, you should be together, but you both bring such a unique angle, the creative plus the nurturing of a client. Like that's obviously in you, Lauren, and Mitch, like you are just creative to the nth degree. So yeah, you guys make a good team. It's good.
Thank you. It's a crazy team. It's a fun team. Yeah.
What would you say as you guys are 2 years in to the biz?
Year and a half.
Yeah. 18
year
months.
and a half. Man. There are people that would love to take the leap, right? People that are stuck in their current 9-to-5, hustling on the side, doing whatever video they can get their hands on, that would love to be able to jump full time. And then there's also people who are in it full time, but it just hasn't hit yet, right? Like they're really struggling to find consistency in any part of the business. What kind of, in this is where I think it's totally appropriate to say, you don't have everything figured out. You guys have only been doing this for stinking, a year and a half. But with where you're at right now, what advice would you give to somebody that is in one of those positions?
Well, I'd love to lay out an 8-step process.
Alex Hormozy would say.
Yeah.
I listen to so much business building content. Yeah. I remember every time I was working on a project for a while, I was thinking like, okay, I would literally, have a creative idea in the middle of an edit or something and just be like, man, I don't know how to scale this or replicate this. So maybe I shouldn't set that standard, and just dumb it down. I was always thinking like, you do less or do better. And so finally, it actually was Alex Hormozy. He was saying, like make something awesome and then your clients will tell other people and sell it for you. And so I just decided, like, let's just make everything as awesome as we can. And I want to feel inspired. I don't want to stop until I'm kind of inspired creatively by the video. At least for now is what we're trying to do, to take care of every client, even if they're not the biggest client, treat them like the biggest client, and just having that empathy, trying to think what do they really need, in the final product and in the process too, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's just really trying to care about people. People have told us that you really take the time to get to know us, and that's huge. And you know, other companies and marketing agencies, it just feels like plug and play, and they don't really care or get to know us. And so what people always say, it's like the people business, right? You know, whatever business you're in. So that's been my strategy. I guess it's just trying to take care of everybody the best we can. Be grateful for every client, and we're certainly working on our marketing right now. But I couldn't tell anybody, you know, do these 3 steps and then you'll get consistent, you know. And I mean, I'd be lying too if I didn't say, from my perspective, like our faith, you know, just trying to surrender the business and the vision to the Lord every day, and praying for provision. And you know, to me, I believe He's just sustained us. And you know, we don't have like a bunch of retainers right now where it's really predictable, but He just keeps giving us what we need, and it's building that faith. And so yeah, I mean, that's what I got. I talked way longer than that.
I would say one of the best things for us going into this was just our community. So we're lucky enough to have members in our family who are business minded, who are finance people, that kind of thing. So when we were like dreaming this up and thinking maybe this is what we want to do, we took that to anyone who had more knowledge than us. And we sat down, and they were gracious enough to run numbers with us and lay out a plan for us, that because we couldn't have done that. We have none of that like financial mind going for us. And so just our family, and then our like community group through church, like being really vulnerable with them when things aren't going well, just to have them like remind us of how far we've come and what we've done. And hey, this is business. Like, you're a baby, you're a year in, like, you know, you can't put your vision for 15 years from now on your first year. Like, just people that are going to remind you of that. And then just finding someone, like for us, it works for us. Mitch can see, you know, a year, 3 years, 10 years down the road, where I am very much like, I can get stuck 6 feet in front of me. And so when stuff hits the fan, like, I mean, I'm serious. There have been times over the past year and a half where you could go in my Google history and see that I've looked up, like, how do you file for bankruptcy? And if you, in that same moment, like, had you talked to Mitch about how things were going, you would have gotten a totally different perspective on it. So just like having someone that can remind you farther ahead than just your circumstances. Like, we're just surrounded by great people and great family, and one, I think, just perseverance. Like, we hear over and over again from other business owners, from podcasts we're listening to, everything, that really what sets a successful business owner apart is just like, they will not die. Like, this relentless pursuit, and you just keep going. You get up, you pivot, you whatever. And I feel like we've done a lot of that. Like, very little has gone the way I expected it to. And so just having to make that choice, like, okay, this month is a little scary, but we're just going to keep going.
Yeah. There's like, I experience higher highs and lower lows than Lauren. She's, you know, kind of more stays in the middle. Maybe your lows are pretty low. But I, like, when things are good,
I just stay low. I just stay low.
But when I'm feeling good, I'm feeling great. And then when I'm feeling bad, I'm like, oh, this sucks. So I've learned that, like, usually I'll experience both of those in the same day, like every day, you know, because something good happens and something bad always happens. And so I try to just like enjoy the highs and get ready for the next low, and then power through the next low and realize, you know, something's going to open up. So that's been fun. But dude, to plug your mastermind group, Ryan, that's been huge as well. Just the niche specific, like people going through the same thing, and I've been vulnerable with you about how hard pricing is for me as a creative, super friendly person, relational person. It's just nice to have those kind of, I guess, benchmark is the right word. Okay, other people are charging this. This is, I'm not out of my mind because, I'm not charging like a freelancer doing something on the side, anymore, which they should be charging a lot too. But I was not back then. But that's been huge, just getting that support and hearing people go through the same things. Because that's big too, the mastermind group, because like our community, if you're not like building a business, you don't know what it's like to do that, and you experience different problems. So other people can't relate to what we're going through, and in this group they can. And so that's really huge. And I think you say you're blessed by our vulnerability. I'm really happy to hear that. I do it selfishly as well, just because if I'm not being vulnerable, if I'm just, trying to flex and lie about how good everything is going, I'm not going to grow. And, that's not going to help me either. So, I'm glad. Yeah, it's a selfish strategy as well. I need that feedback, but
yeah. Which I think is probably why I like you guys so much, is that, I'm very similar, right? I'm definitely not afraid to be vulnerable. I know the quicker I can do that, the more it's going to benefit everybody in the room. So anyway, I appreciate you guys so much. So glad that we've gotten the time that we have in the masterminds, just getting to know your stories better and to be a support for you. Thank you so much for showing up. Lauren, was this kind of fun? Was it?
It got better. Yeah. It got better.
Remember, her highs only get so
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So it didn't move. The needle didn't move that much. Well, how can people follow along with the work that you guys have got going on in there? What's the words I'm saying right now? How can people follow along with your work? Reach out if they've got questions for you or want to connect.
We're super active on social media.
We're not.
I would say
I love all
one
of
of our
Mitch's
2024 goals. Yeah.
I would say LinkedIn is probably the place where we're going to prioritize that, then maybe Instagram.
Yeah. You can also just check out our website.
Yes.
There's a link to make a call. If you just want to talk to us, though, you can still use that link.
Yeah. fullsendagency.co. Yeah.
It sounded like a question.
Changed.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So we
I was double checking.
We just changed it.
Like literally went live this morning. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats on that. That's
we pigeonholed ourselves. It was like fullsend-NC, North Carolina. So
but we're going global. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Worldwide, baby. You guys are awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Appreciate you both, and see you on our next call coming up pretty soon.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
All right, guys. See ya. All right, my friend, if you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it with your bestie that might get something out of it. You can access the show notes, all of the links and the things that we talk about. The quick way to do that would be to go to studiosherpas.com/367. And if you're watching this video on Facebook or YouTube, if you got a question, a comment, something that you're taking away that you're like, man, this was really good, or here's an insight, or here's how I'm thinking differently about my business because of something that I saw or heard, I'd love to hear that from you. So leave a comment or email me, Ryan, R-Y-A-N, @studiosherpas.com. Always love hearing from you specifically. Yes, I'm talking to you. Yes. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited for 2024. Lots of new stuff coming. Man, I'm still trying, right now as I'm recording this, there's still processing and trying to think, what are all of the new things that I'm going to do next year? And I think 2024 is going to be my biggest year yet. And that's my hope for you too. That's all I got. I'll see you on the next episode. Remember, check out that 6-figure filmmaker workshop at studiosherpas.com/workshop. Go watch it or else. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. See ya.